Welcome to Her Fertility, the podcast revolutionizing the way women are supported on their fertility journey. I'm your host, Jess Tims. With years of supporting women as a fertility doula, I've seen the emotional pain caused by infertility, including my own struggle with unexplained infertility. And I always knew there had to be a better way to support women with their fertility health and healing. We are here to reclaim control, find clarity, and transform the fertility conversation. Welcome back to the Her Fertility podcast. I am delighted to be joined today by Sophia and Marta, the co-founders of the Fertility Class, a specialized workout program designed to boost and support your fertility. And when I found out about this, I was so excited and so delighted. It's something I wish I had on my own journey so many years ago, but I'm so excited to be sharing the information with you today. So we're going to dive into what the fertility class is and how it can support you on your journey. So welcome, Sophia and Marta. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Already loving this conversation.
It's so great. And so, Sophia, you are over on the East Coast, correct? In New York?
That's right. I'm in Connecticut, actually, about 45 minutes from New York City. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I am in LA, so right near to you.
Yep, just right up the road.
Yes.
Fantastic. And have you always been coast to coast?
Well, no.
Actually, this is how our story starts. No,
okay, great.
You go ahead.
No. I love the way you say it, and then
So we're both originally from Hungary, but we grew up on opposite sides of the country, and our lives took us to London. And one day I was at a playground in London with my older son, and someone walked up to me and heard me speak Hungarian and started speaking to me in Hungarian, and it was Marta. And she came to say hello, and it turned out that she had a son who is a couple days younger than my son. And so we instantly hit it off. Our kids hit it off, and we became friends, and our kids became friends. And then I think it was almost probably 7-8 years later that in the same month, we were moving to Connecticut, and Marta and her family was moving to Los Angeles. And our lives took us on similar paths, but I had nothing to do with one another. It was just kind of fate. And I brought this up when we started the fertility class, like, was this for a reason? Because it feels like we have such a symbiotic and amazing relationship as friends and as co-founders of this venture. And it feels like it's meant to be.
Yeah. I got the full body chills when you were sharing that story, because it does feel like it was meant to be. What a divine way that you came into contact with each other.
Yeah. Sophia at the time was in fashion. She already was teaching fertility exercises on the side. I was in the yoga world and holistic nutrition. So we didn't really think about, that one day we're going to create something together. I do believe that we meant to meet that day in the sandpit and do this together. And it was really...
In the sandpit. I love that. And then when you did become coast to coast, did you stay in contact like on social media? Like, how did that work?
It's all Sophia. She's amazing keeping touch with people. And I got my certification in the fertility exercises back in Hungary, but I was already in LA. And she was just always checking in like, so how is business going? How are you doing? And then she decided to transition from fashion to health and wellness. And she had this crazy idea. Can you imagine if we move this online so every woman has a chance to access this amazing gift and tool that we know and that we have? Because that was the problem originally, that, it was taught always in person locally. Yeah. So it was either one-on-one or a small group. So how many people you can reach? Not too many, right?
Yeah.
So once she had this amazing idea that we need to put this online. So it doesn't matter where you are in the US or in the world, you can click, sign up, and start doing the exercises and feel the amazing benefits that it
And
can
it,
be.
and it wasn't, it wasn't an epiphany. It was something that I was thinking about for many years because these exercises were so incredibly beneficial for me. And we can go more in detail into that. But um, then as I started teaching people and they were having amazing results, it was just always in the back of my mind, like more women need to know about this. And it was almost a level of guilt that I have this incredible knowledge and I'm not passing it on to more people. So it needed a few years to come to fruition, but it was always kind of just nagging me that this needs to be spread wider. And so finally last year, the fertility class was born.
That's amazing. It's so aligned with kind of where I've seen my business with the fertility doula world of, it's very one-on-one, it's very in person with people. But we live at this time where there's these access to all these online tools. And I'm like, why not use that? Right? Like, I feel like we are alive right now for a reason, doing these things right now for a reason. And so using the tools in this way is so beautiful to reach so many women worldwide.
Yeah, you just have to meet people where they are, which is
Yeah.
online, which is the fact that they're busy and
Yeah.
they're used to doing this now. This is nothing foreign. There are a lot of workout classes online, courses, programs. We're so in a symbiotic relationship with the internet. So we can go in between a real life class and then you can do a class online. So it made so much sense to us. And it was really important for us to keep that personal angle still which we've managed to. But yeah, the goal was for this to reach as many women as possible.
It's so beautiful. So let's back up a little bit and start with, what is the fertility class?
Basically, the fertility class is a platform where primarily you come to learn fertility health exercises. And in addition to that, we teach you the foundations of fertility health. And those are what we like to call pillars, which is so our main pillar is movement, but also nutrition, mindfulness. So we have meditations, fertility yoga, and we teach you about endocrine disruptors and the basics toward building that fertility health lifestyle.
With fertility health exercises, you're talking about a specific way to move. Is that right?
Yeah, these are functional movements, very targeted to the pelvic area, increasing blood flow, blood circulation, because I think what people don't necessarily know that blood transports all the vital nutrients, oxygens, hormones, white blood cells. And when you're able to increase that blood circulation around your pelvis, where your uterus, ovaries, fallopian tubes live, these vital components can get to these organs in a much higher dose, so their functioning becomes much better, right? So that's the premise of the exercises. We do a lot of pelvic movements. They're very dynamic, they're very fun, but we also bring in the stimulating the reflexology points on the surface of your hand and feet. So most notably is the thyroid, the uterus, the ovaries, and the hypothalamus, the reflexology point that we stimulate over and over and over again. So it's like a 30-minute exercise where we do rhythmic movement and you bringing in tapping the reflexology points and then really creating that juicy blood flow. So the communication also with the brain and the organ becomes much more efficient. We fire up the neural pathways by the spine. So it's very therapeutic, very unique. Most of our clients have never moved that way. So it's always there is an element of surprise, like, oh my God, I didn't know that this can do this, right?
Yeah.
And it's also amazing for organ alignment. So if somebody has flattened uterus, forward facing, backward facing, we can actually adjust it and realign it. And then, that menstruation gets much more easier and so on.
And so, as Marta said, these are dynamic exercises. So there's fertility yoga that I think people automatically think of as a fertility exercise, which is super beneficial for opening, and it's proven to be great for mental health. But this is a very functional exercise to get that blood flow and circulation to your reproductive organs, and it's especially important because we spend so much time sitting. Most of us. 90+% of us spend 60 to 80 hours a week sitting and, we sit on the sofa and we sit and scroll our devices. And so if you just think about where your reproductive organs are located, if you're spending all this time sitting, literally the entire weight of your diaphragm, especially if you're sitting hunched over with a bad posture, is weighing onto these reproductive organs, and you're essentially cutting off blood supply. So you don't have to be diagnosed with pelvic congestion. You can even just have a reduced pelvic circulation, blood circulation. And so your reproductive system is just not going to function optimally. They're really focused on your entire reproductive and hormonal system. And, you start doing these exercises, and because it's rhythmic and dynamic, and, we really work this part of the body, you start feeling that warmth, that buzzing, like you just feel like, okay, I feel it alive.
When I first heard about the fertility class, I was like, big light bulb moment, because it feels like it's pulling on all this knowledge that we have, but that's very siloed in their own way, and bringing it together. So we, especially in fertility, we might go see an acupuncturist or like a chiropractor, and their jobs are aligning the energy or the chi, or getting the spine straight so that the nerves can, open up, and that's all well and good, but to now pull that into movement and dial in specifically to your reproductive system and move it in a way where you're moving that energy and you're strengthening and you're bringing blood flow. Like I just had this big aha moment of like, oh, this is so brilliant. Like such a brilliant way to introduce movement for women. I do agree with the sitting thing, but I also feel like we're so out of touch with that part of our body for so many reasons. Like we just don't, we don't know what our pelvic floor is. We don't know what it feels like. We don't know how to move it. And so this sounds like such a beautiful way to get connected with that, regardless of where you're at on your fertility journey. I would think this would be for,
100%.
yeah, I would think this would be for
100%.
anybody. Hmm.
It gives you such great body awareness, because the first thing we do in our classes is finding what we call the zone. And the zone is the area that houses your reproductive organs. So you just, for the first time, probably in a long time, you just connect with it, even in a, kind of mental way, just having that mind-body connection of, okay, this is where they live. This is what I'm
Hmm.
trying to address. This is what I'm thinking about. This is where I'm trying to get oxygen, and then get into that blood flow and alignment. But you're so right. It's unfortunately, it's societal. It's something that we, for some reason, have been conditioned to be ashamed of our femininity and our cycles and these organs, and it's time to educate ourselves and really just to have that awareness. And then as you exercise, as you actually feel the benefits. So yes, it starts with awareness, and then you notice what's happening in your body, which is beautiful.
That's
And
so
I also
beautiful.
think it's what's amazing about it for me, where I felt it the most, that it's very empowering. It helps you to find your voice, because the other modalities that you mentioned, acupuncture and so on, those are amazing complementary solutions. But what's unique about the fertility class exercise is that you do that on your own for yourself. You don't need to go to an appointment, pay every single time and lie down and get the needles in. They work, there is no question about it. But here, it's you doing something, you empowering yourself to heal your own body. And I think there is something really amazing about that.
Yeah. And it's so, what popped into my mind when you were saying that, Marta, was the chakras involved. So I'm Reiki trained as a Reiki master. So I work with energy centers, and the two that are down at the base of the spine, the root chakra and the sacral chakra, which you would be addressing here, are the place of your power, like your personal power, your foundation. And so you're activating that center, which would be super empowering.
Yeah, and I'm a yoga teacher, so when you talk about chakra, my eyes are like lit up. And the sacral and the root chakra, it's all about, being at home in your body also, and finding that feminine energy.
As a society, I feel like we're ready to acknowledge that women are a whole. We have the science, we have the body, we also have this beautiful mind, and then the energy, and being able to, it's a really fine dance, right? To like blend all of that. But I do feel like the fertility class does a really beautiful job of that, like tapping into all those layers.
Yeah, oh my God, I love you
I
so
think
much. That was so beautiful.
absolutely. I think it, because we're in this space, we come across a lot of women that have that kind of awareness that your body is a whole, and you have to look at it as a whole. It's not, organs that are misbehaving. It's, there's root causes to that, and how do you get to them and how do you address them? But I think we also need to be mindful of the fact that there's so many women who have never heard this type of information, and they're new to the nutrition, and maybe they're not really moving and aren't taking advantage of the fact that movement is medicine, because we've seen it, and we live it every day at the fertility class. And so I think it's just it's meeting people where they are, and some are really advanced, and they just come and they want to try this new way of moving. And for others, it's, it really does start with the basics, but it might, after a year of practicing and easing into this type of lifestyle, then they're more open to understanding that, yes, it's, it's not just an organ. There's a lot of emotions involved there for women. So it's all person by person. I think that's important, that everyone's very unique.
I completely agree. There's no one fertility journey that looks like
Yeah.
another. So who would the fertility class be for? And is there anybody who should wait before they try the class?
I love this question because, first of all, should we define what fertility is, right? It's not just about conceiving, but it's about feeling good in your skin and feeling empowered and mentally and physically grounded, right? So with that aside, it doesn't matter whether you're a teen or a woman in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond. You can find these exercises useful in various ways. So if you need to regulate your cycle, boost your ovulation, ease your PMS or perimenopausal symptoms, this is an exercise for you. These exercises help to improve your uterine lining, improve the follicle size and count. It can open up blocked fallopian tubes, help with the cervical mucus, and it all ties back to hormones. So once you're able to balance your hormones and recalibrate the endocrine systems, these are just symptoms. These gonna fall into places, right? So if you start to do these exercises, your body gonna react to that. And after miscarriage, to help your body to cleanse the uterus and get back to balance. We have clients who are already on the journey of IUI, IVF, and we say, to get your body ready. So do it before you walk into the treatment. And while you are doing the treatment, we recommend to maybe do the yoga class, the meditation, walk more. So it's case to case. We do talk to every single client of ours.
You do. Interesting. So, okay, walk me through this.
We have a library of classes. We teach a sequence of exercises that addresses your entire reproductive system. And it's not just kind of willy-nilly you jump in and you start doing this movement class or this exercise class. We teach you why you're doing what and how to do each of those movements so that they're targeting the right area, opening the right area, again, getting this blood flow. How do you find those muscles? How do you work them to contract them so that you can get this strengthening and blood flow to these targeted areas. So we walk you through each of the movements, you ease into it with a nice practice, and then it gets dynamic, and there's various versions of these movement classes. And then once you've learned, we kind of put you on this track based on your cycle, based on your goals, based on your history, whatever your unique situation is. So Marta and I talk to everybody, and then we have this awesome WhatsApp chat, which is our community, and we talk about everything there. So, it's a two-way conversation, and we talk about successes, people ask questions. It's just a really fun and nice community where, everybody feels like they belong. This is about, what am I doing for my body? What are you doing for your body? What are you noticing? It's uplifting. It's a really nice community.
Yeah, if somebody says like, I just ovulated first time ever in years, and like everybody's like, oh my God.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And it's everyone has their own roller coaster experience to this, but I feel that there always comes a point where you do want to be able to connect with other women because it's such a unique experience, or you might feel very alone in wanting to connect with your body or whatever it is. So having that community is such a bonus.
Yeah, it's something that we didn't necessarily set out to do because we thought there's so many other opportunities to find community.
Mhm.
There are a lot of foundations, there are a lot of groups there. It just felt like there were a lot of spaces out there. But a lot of the women who come to us, they say,
Yeah.
I came for the exercises, but I also got community. People really crave this belonging and to be able to talk about things and really just, I think, to have that positive spin on this whole journey.
I think it's really important that, we didn't think of that at the very, very beginning. It kind of came along. But like when we put up a live class that Wednesday, 10 a.m. live, and surprisingly, people drop everything and do show up because they want to do it together, or there is like a live check-in. And people come in and talk in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. So that also just a beautiful feedback for us that community does matter. Yeah.
So you do have the option for a couple live classes through the app. Do you do anything in person also?
They have access to all of the classes. They are guided on how they should be practicing in terms of the calendar and again, just in a kind of cycle synced way.
Yeah.
And then we do these personal check-ins. We have the community, so it's just we're always on. We're always around. Something is always happening, and there's always new things. I think a lot of our members are now excited about our men's exercises coming. It's just we're always adding new things to the membership and the community.
Yeah. So speaking of new things, you do have a male fertility focus coming out. Can you tell me more about that?
So we've always had our men's exercises, and for probably the 1,000 women that I've taught the women's exercises to, I can probably count on one hand how many men came to me individually to learn the men's exercises.
Yeah.
So it's just, again, there's been a lot of stigma around male fertility health and a level of shyness. But I felt like it was so unbalanced to just have all this focus on women when 50% of the pregnancy is dependent on the men. And it was important to us that we offered something to men as well. And I think this is something that helps the women that have so
Yeah.
much pressure put on them through this whole process. But also the men's exercises are incredible. And we wanted to make a package available for men to be able to start the exercises. So we've recorded a beautiful set of classes just last week in Los Angeles, and they'll be launching on the platform soon, or hopefully by the time people are listening to this. And so the premise of the exercises, again, because of the sedentary lifestyle and sitting and just in general, bringing blood flow is very important for men, but also for functioning. Their pelvic floor health is really important for hormone balance, testosterone, tapping into reflexology zones. Again, as Marta explained earlier, for the women's, it's the hypothalamus and their reproductive systems, how they communicate with each other and optimize hormone balance. So again, it's a sequence of functional exercises. We have our wonderful friend Alejandro, who is demonstrating all of the exercises, and they're fun and they're easy. And the really nice thing for men is that they don't need to achieve this warmth and blood flow to their reproductive organs. So they can actually break it up and just kind of build it into their every day, every other day, a couple of times a week, do a set of the exercises.
We always said that the man can join the ladies and do the course sequence together. But because we made it quite feminine and fun and very, pelvic centered, we noticed that not everybody's, keen on jumping on those exercises as a couple. So then we are putting it online, just the man exercises that
Yeah.
are more palatable for men.
Yeah. So smart. It's so smart. And yeah, it's such a large part of the conversation that's missing is that male fertility component. With the men that I've had the pleasure of working with, they are looking for something like this and it's not available. So
Mhm.
I'm so glad that you're filling that gap.
Yeah, we're excited about it. We're excited for people to try it. I mean, we've taught it before. This has been around since the 60s, 1960s, so this is nothing new. it's been practiced. And yes, I mean, it's all about male fertility health. So all the things we talked about for men, this is not even just about the desire to conceive with your partner. This is just a great men's health exercise for,
Yeah.
for all of the things we mentioned.
Can you dive a little bit more into that? What is the history of these movements?
So the godmother of fertility exercises is Aviva Gabriela Steiner, who is a Hungarian-born, beautiful dancer, physiotherapist, yoga teacher, who eventually moved to Israel after the war. And she was the one who wanted to give a tool into women's hand to be able to control their fertility. So in the 1960s, 70s, she started to work on these exercises. But as I mentioned earlier, that they were only taught locally in small groups. So eventually from Israel, the whole method moved to Hungary. There is like a bigger foundation of the Aviva Gabriela Steiner Foundation, where we were certified, or there was nobody in the US when we came here. So we were teaching it again locally from a book, talking to people, but the reach was minimal. So that's why we decided that close the book, nobody wants to read a book, and just move it online and try to spread the word because it's such a gift. And even though it was created back in the 1960s, everything applies today. We have the same body. It just works perfectly. But it also just shows that it's time tested. It's been around for decades.
And that was part of our mission is we realized, having been involved with this for 15 years, is if we don't bring this to the masses, if we don't bring this to women, it's going to die out. This is something that's going to be forgotten about. And it's such an incredible tool and so needed. It did feel like we need to make this our mission to spread the word. So really the fertility class is the roots come from this method, but because we have so much experience and practice with it, we've built so much on it, and really modernized it and made it for that modern woman. But it has a long history. In addition to, of course, I should also mention fertility dances in general. Fertility dances have history in ancient cultures, in Mayan cultures, in African tribal cultures. This is nothing new. And even the root of our method is definitely influenced by some of those dances. We've built that all into the fertility class.
We also brought in the breathing techniques that was not part of the original method. And, you just get in, you show up, and then just keep an open mind and start to move your hips and just enjoy the music, enjoy the movement, and you will feel so good after that.
I just can't help but smile through all of this and hearing about it. It sounds so fun, and it just sounds like such a beautiful way to just get into your body and really honor that. I love that you're drawing from all these different influences. Like we can go to the gym and we can move the body, but it's not on purpose in the way that this is very purposeful. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think specifically just for your toolkit, for your fertility health toolkit, we talk too much about supplements and, all of these other, various therapies, which a lot of them have their place and they've been proven to be effective, but we're not talking enough about exercise. And in fact, I think some people are warned about exercising because, they might be nervous, but
Yeah.
it's so important. It's so therapeutic, and you can actually do targeted exercises. So it's you're not willy-nilly moving, but someone's
Yeah.
guiding you.
And that just made, I'm so glad you said that because it really made me think about how alienating your body can become on this journey. Like you're expecting, like on an infertility journey specifically, because I realize
Hmm.
this would apply to women across the board. But if you are experiencing infertility, you're hoping that your body is going to do something it was designed to do, and it's not. You're not getting pregnant. You do feel almost alienated from your own body because you're like, what's wrong with me? And all of that dialogue in your mind. And so this would be such a beautiful way to reconnect in a way that is very honoring to that.
And I can talk to that because I went through infertility
Mm,
for 3 years. Like as a teenager, I had hypothalamic amenorrhea, so I didn't ovulate, menstruate.
yeah.
I was put on the pill. and there was a miscarriage. And that's what I felt, just that my body betrayed me. I felt frustrated. I didn't know what's going on. And I wish I would have had a program like this where I can just show up and myself, do something for myself, not like going from doctor to doctor and, like take this medication or try that, hormone therapy. So yes, it's very empowering when you can do something for yourself.
That's so beautiful. I am so excited for more and more women to learn about this and experiencing it for themselves. Are there any success stories that you want to share or specifics that you want to share?
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
we
Our
both have
favorite
our
topic.
favorite stories, actually. Like for me, a young woman in her 20s found me, and she, similar to me, didn't menstruate, didn't ovulate. She had terrible thyroid issues. She was on a whole laundry list of medication. She started to practice regularly 2 to 3 times a week, and within 4 months, she ovulated, menstruated, and had a regular pain-free ovulatory cycle, right?
That's
And then
amazing.
5 years later, she came back because she wanted to conceive and she felt her body needed some support because she went through a miscarriage.
Mhm.
And she started to practice, and within 3 months, she felt pregnant, and today she has a 6 months old baby boy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love how the progression, right? Like
Yeah.
get her cycle back and then conceive. How beautiful.
Yeah. And she started with me when she was in her mid-20s, and then she's in her 30s, right? So in different time for different reasons, she used the
Mhm.
same exercises.
That's so
We
amazing.
also had a woman who came to us who's been trying to get pregnant for 8 years over two relationships.
Wow.
And she had recurring monthly UTIs for years that she tried everything to get rid of with, and nothing worked. She also had breast cysts that she was told she would have to do surgery on. But she came to us because she wanted to get pregnant. So she learned the exercises and she was very diligent and she was very good at updating me, and she was doing the exercises 3 times a week. And first, after the first month of exercising, she said, I didn't get a UTI this month. So this was after years of getting them monthly.
Amazing. Yeah.
And it took her 4 to 5 months. She became pregnant. She also, as Marta mentioned, this client of ours also made tweaks to her diet. She realized that, she needed to give her body more nutrition. But so she was very diligent with the exercises. She did succeed in getting pregnant, and also her breast cysts disappeared. So when she went
Wow.
back to her doctor, I actually don't know what the timeline is on her breast cysts, but they did get smaller and disappear. So it's all, it all ties in together. These are all hormonal symptoms. We don't know what caused her infertility, but the fact that she had these other symptoms, and it was so nice for her to get this feedback after a month of like, oh my gosh, the UTIs. I mean, it's just so, can you imagine how uncomfortable?
The body is so beautiful and so self-healing, and yet I feel like we are very largely lacking of language to understand the body, but it sounds like the fertility class is giving those movements to really align and move and connect maybe pieces that are disconnected in such a beautiful way. And I'm inspired by those stories. I can't imagine what it could do for so many women. It's very clear to me that you both are so passionate about this. You have so much knowledge and you want to share it to all of the women in the world. How can they find you and how can they get the app?
So the best way to find this is thefertilityclass.com or on Instagram.
So thefertilityclass.com at the fertility class. We'll have that all linked in the show
Thank
notes.
you.
And Marta and Sophia, thank you so much for really explaining it in full detail and giving us all the background. It's such a beautiful approach to fertility, and I'm so glad that we've been able to connect on this.
Thank you so much for having us and for everything that you do. I absolutely love following you on Instagram. You have such
Thank you.
informative posts. I truly love it. So thank you for everything and for having us.
It
Thank
was
you. That
such an
means so
honor. Thank
much.
you.
Before we wrap up, I want to offer something special just for you listening right now. If you're on a fertility journey that feels overwhelming, lonely, or uncertain, You don't have to walk it alone. At Her Fertility Support, I offer private one-on-one sessions designed to hold space for your entire self, body, mind, and spirit. These aren't just coaching calls. They're sacred containers where we breathe, we listen, we release, and together we process your emotions, shift limiting beliefs, and gently guide your system back to harmony. And the best part? You can book a free consultation today to explore if this kind of support is right for you. Whether you're trying to conceive, navigating a loss, or exploring IVF, your story is safe here. Go to www.herfertility.support or click the link in the show notes to schedule your free consultation now. I can't wait to meet you and walk with you on this path.